wash my soul in the ocean, in the tears of God, I let it go.
Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from astrolada.com, and today I would like to share with you my thoughts on the coming eclipse, lunar eclipse on the 19th of November at the 27th degree in Taurus. I've been thinking about this eclipse for the whole year, and because it's very powerful eclipse, even scientists, astronomers are saying that it's going to last quite a long time. And this eclipse is happening next to extremely powerful set of stars known as the Pleiades. And I want to talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to see what it means, this eclipse, for the whole world. What can it mean as an interpretation, and what it can mean in your personal life. I've already made the November videos 2021 where I talk about the meaning of this eclipse for the different 12 signs, so I'm not going to repeat it. You can go and watch those for each of the 12 signs. Now we're going to do more like what it means if it eclipses your sun, moon, or ascendant. And just to remind you that my horoscopes for 2022 are out, and there are just a few more days where they're discounted 30%. After that, they go to full price. We've already sold more than 4,000 in 10 weeks, in 10 days or 15 days. So I'm very excited and thankful that all of you like them so much. And also my calendar for 2022, electronic, interactive, with 124 pages with all the transits, the meanings of all the full and new moons and eclipses, the meanings of absolutely everything that happens in the year, written personally by me every year. So check it out. But now let's start about this eclipse. It's a pivotal eclipse because it happens. And by the way, this eclipse is working already. It starts working a month before, and it works 100 days after, very powerfully, after the exact time of the eclipse. And this eclipse would be very important for people like us, spiritual people, astrologers, healers, and I'll tell you why. I want to share my screen with you first of all. Desktop, okay, share, so I can show you where the eclipse is happening. Where's that? There it is. The eclipse is happening. Here is the moon. The moon will be eclipsed on the 19th. Do you see it? If you can see my screen here. It's happening in the constellation of Taurus, and very close, next, exactly close to those few little blue lines, it's called the Pleiades. The seven sisters, you've heard about the Pleiades, many channelers channel from there. So an eclipse is like a full moon, but much more intensified, and especially affects the common people everywhere in the world, the normal you and me in our personal lives. There will be very powerful channels of energy coming from the Pleiades. I believe some people might connect even with entities from the Pleiades. Some channelers will receive some very powerful messages from there, maybe for the future of humanity around that time. But the Pleiades in astrology are known as, I'm going to stop sharing so you can look at me, but it's exactly next to the Pleiades. So the eclipse emphasized Pleiades and the constellation Taurus. But sorry, I forgot my thought what I was talking about. But this eclipse will emphasize and will be especially powerful for the people. And let's determine what it means. The constellation of Taurus rules food, rules resources, rules access to such resources, whether it's resources of the earth like gas, petrol, whether it's food that we put on our table, or any kind of commodities of necessities that we have in our everyday life. It's the abundance of the land, it's the crops, it's fertility, and it's money. So all of those things that Taurus symbolizes, an eclipse happening there indicates travels that are coming ahead with that, because eclipses create crises. In the past, they call them that dark entities or energies were coming from eclipses. And on the earth now, they create a crisis, which is a turning point, and again, it can eventually turn into something good. Usually, eclipses are stressful on the material level outside. Things that are described as crisis happen, but on the spiritual level, they're great aligners to uh, higher purpose, great aligners to spiritual awakening. So we shouldn't look at them only as something negative. So even though on the outside it might be hard for the next, and it's already started, problems with supplies, with foods, with things from necessity. I've been talking about that for a whole year, and it's happening all over the world. I've been talking for that for a year and a half or two already, that this year, this starts in 2021. But this eclipse intensifies it. So the winter in the Northern Hemisphere will be more limited with money, with finances, with resources. There might be even, as our astrologer Trifonikov said, some financial crisis that happens with currencies, with money, not exactly on the 19th, but the next 3 months, currencies hyperinflation or rising of prices, goods at end, because Taurus is the fertility of the earth. It is being eclipsed. There can be some issues with the fertility of the earth, or how much crops there, or some destruction that happens. Eclipses can be destruction. A lot of farmers are saying that they're being told to destroy their crops, already started from the summer. So this, we might start seeing the effects of that down the line after this eclipse. It's already happening with the rising of prices. And so just telling you what it's in, the symbols. It is the symbols. But the Pleiades, now let's interpret what the Pleiades are. Pleiades have a few meanings. Of course, one of the meanings is plentiful. Pleiades, plentiful. Abundance, again, it's again telling us this will be eclipse. There will be some issues there of the bountifulness of the earth. The Pleiades also are connected because they're a cluster of stars. So they're connected to communities. And they're connected to communities, and because it's in the constellation of Taurus, it's connected to living on communities that live off the earth, that grow food and live off the earth, and so on. So there can be some emphasis, some urge for action, or because it's a full moon eclipse with the Rahu, with the North Node, to manifest. Rahu is to create something, to manifest something, to initiate something. But if there are such communities, also because it's eclipsed, they might notice that there is some difficulties for them over the next 3 years, some crisis situations that they have to solve. Or if you're forming such a community, a cluster of people that live together from the land, take care of the land, you have to be aware that there will be some very important thing you have to do for the next 100 months, 100 days, and that something escalates, something has to manifest, to build up, to be created, because this is what a full moon indicates, to give fruit, but you have to overcome some difficulty as well. And they can even get attention in news, or they can become more powerful presence for the next 100 days, such kind of communities. Then the Pleiades, the really ancient meaning of the Pleiades is a witch, healer, sage, and it's a feminine energy. The Pleiades is a totally feminine energy. So an eclipse on the moon in a feminine constellation, in a feminine sign, can be a warning that maybe a woman of importance, maybe even a spiritual woman or a healer, can fall from grace or can pass away or die. Plus, another thing, so if it rules the witches, the Pleiades, actually anyone who is born with the Pleiades in their sun, moon, or ascendant, they have some occult abilities. They might be interested in astrology, they might be Reiki healers, they might be herbalists, and they might be healers, they might be a normal doctor, but who is not the typical normal doctor who just, prescribes you just all the chemical substances. That's more Scorpio energy. These Pleiades type of healers that Pleiades rules, they are more like the witches of the past, with herbs, with homeopathy, with light, with sound, with, you can call them alternative healers. So you'd notice that if you're anyone like that, there might be some completion that's coming in your life, the completion of some project or the manifestation that you have to complete over the next 100 days of something important connected with that. And there might be some challenges on the way, but because it rules the so-called healers. You can see that a lot of nurses or doctors represented by Pleiades, who are a little bit more alternative, who are don't blind, who are not just for poisonous, because all medicine is created kind of chemically nowadays, but people that believe that kind of a bit more like witches of the past that were persecuted. They believe in the powers of nature. It was different back then. Now the Pleiades rules healers and doctors that are a bit more natural, that believe in the immune system, not just in chemicals. So they might have some trouble for the next 100 days. It's already started. They're already going through a hard time. They're being fired everywhere. Such proper healers, I'd call them, because they don't just blindly follow what they're being told. They don't just, they even, Pleiades gives powerful intuition and psychic ability. So anyone who is a healer has to have that. Proper healers and witches have to have that, because every person has to have needs a different medicine. It's not all for one for all. It's never been like that. Just modern medicine made it like that. Always the same pill, the same solution for everyone, but it's very individualistic for everyone. So those Pleiades type of people, healers, because they're being eclipsed, they might have some troubles, but they'll be in, they're being eclipsed, but there'll be also a lot in the media, and there will be something escalates. There'll be like an attack, because the dark forces is through an eclipse. There'll be like an attack, and there is already one happening on them, and all natural healers, doctors and such ones. But at the same time, because it's an eclipse, it can, of the moon, it indicates that they're doing some very important job that manifests, that takes 100 days, so basically the whole winter, to bring awareness of some sort. Full moon is awareness, understanding, completion. They have some job to complete of some sort. Of course, it can indicate some powerful spiritual intuitions for people generally around the world, especially for the women. Women might feel maybe a month before the eclipse already, from November, from October even, and into November, they might be having very powerful premonitions, especially if you're a woman or you're more psychic, gentleman, healer, type of thing. And this full moon indicates, eclipse, full moon and eclipse, it usually indicates some crisis. And because it's also next to Algol, it's a star that is above the Pleiades, which is a star in ancient China. It's called corpses upon corpses. It's a star of death. So the Pleiades, another meaning of the Pleiades is death and rebirth. It's connected to grieving and death. That's why they were called the weeping sisters, because they were grieving about death, but also resurrection and recovery. So the two stars, Algol, where the eclipse is between Algol, corpses upon corpses, and Pleiades have connection to death and rebirth. And both are connected to women. Algol was a woman, and the Pleiades, the seven sisters, they have very strong feminine energy. So women might have powerful premonitions about, let's say, more scary events, or like powerful premonitions about something that's coming collectively, and they might feel more nervous tension generally. But anyone who has strong planets around Taurus and Scorpio, the last 10 degrees, and early degrees of Gemini or Sagittarius, they can feel the same. Man or a woman, if you have sun, moon, or ascendant there, you might be having strong premonitions about something to come, because the psychic abilities are unlocked by this eclipse. And especially for things that are a bit more, how do I say, Plutonian in nature, a bit more, death, rebirth. It's so weird. I have Algol and Pleiades on the cusp of my fourth house, which is also my mom, but it's also my psyche, my soul. And for 30 days now, or 3 weeks, I've been having anxiety attacks and a premonition of doom and gloom. But it's physical reaction. I'm not thinking negative. I'm not sitting there thinking, oh, death is coming. Oh. No, I'm just sit, and suddenly I'm gripped. My body starts reacting like a panic attack, like I'm being chased by something. I can't breathe. I hyperventilate. My heart starts palpitating. My stomach goes on a ball. I get super cold, freeze, and I can't talk. It happens on a daily basis, and that's so intense. And it's so strange. I can't understand why this is happening, but it's a feeling of like I'm feeling the collective pre-feeling, the collective worry, and the collective feelings. I don't think it's mine because everything in my life is great. I hope I'm not feeling something negative in my life, but when I have such feelings, or something negative happens in the world. I had it before the pandemic exploded, 3 4 weeks before that, for 10 days, and I was wondering why, you know. And I'm having it now. I don't want to scare you, but something is coming, and it might be connected with more mortality, more death. Um, might be connected with healing as well, but the healing being eclipsed, because Pleiades is about healing as well, you know, just like it rules healers, witches. And so I don't know what to say. There was an eclipse. I checked eclipses of that sort. The last times they were happening in the Pleiades, in the Taurus constellation, Taurus, close to Algol and the Pleiades, and that was at the peak of mad cow disease that even went to people. It's a neurological, neurodegenerative disease. It was more like 19 years ago, something like that. And neurodegenerative disease of some sort. So I'm just saying what's a correlation in the past. It's a prion disease of sort. It's the brain, the nervous system. So I hope it's not that. I hope it doesn't repeat itself. Of course, it can be even illness to the cows and to the horned animals that are domesticated, like Trifon said. But you know, I'm just trying to mention everything that the Pleiades rule. And so even my husband, this anxiety that I've been feeling, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know, God, what is it? And I started praying, and we just moved to a new house. And this kitten started coming to my door. She adopted me. She would just come now. She just would not leave the house. And she's my cat since a week. And she would come and lie here, exactly where I feel the pain and the stress in my solar plexus, and she'll just purr, and then I'll come down. So there's something magical. Pleiades are some of the most magical occult stars. And pre-eclipse, which already feel I'm getting a cat coming in my house. An owl went to live on my roof, and frogs are coming in my garden daily. And my husband said, if you start turning green soon, I'll know what's happening. I think I'm turning into a witch. But it's been very healing. And maybe that's why witches were associated with having cats and owls, because they were wise, and they were owls. The animals are attracted to the energy of humans that is similar to them. And cats are very spiritual animals. They want to protect you from evil if you work with spiritual forces. That's why women love cats very often. Cats are very feminine animals, and women are drawn, you know, like the crazy witch with cats, or crazy single woman with cats. Well, I'm going to turn into that. But what I'm trying also to say is that a lot of women will start receiving, especially women in such healing occult professions, so women that are interested in such topics. So let's say spiritual women that epitomize more deeply the cosmic woman. They'll start getting signals, premonitions, and things aligning for them, like for their families, for science. Just like it happened with me when I needed healing, this kitten started coming to me, and it's really helping me. So I don't have to take anti-anxiety medications or things like that. She's like a meditation for me. And she started, and you're gonna receive some help as well if you're working for spirituality, if you're a spiritual person, prayerful person, good feminine energy in you, healer of anything. So watch out for that. And it might be for yourself personally or for the whole world. So the Pleiades, I'm starting to lose my thought here. I'm telling you that I'm still not feeling well. I really hope to recover so we can do the astrology marathon in December with you, which we do every year with 14 amazing world top astrologers, 15, which is all for free on YouTube here. So talking about that, I would advise, you know, in alignment with this eclipse, maybe stock up a bit on healthy foods for the winter. on supplies. Don't go crazy on the toilet paper and things like that, but things that are really necessary. And maybe think of starting to grow your own food in a small community, maybe with 2, 3 neighbors, that you get a patch of land and you help each other. Do the other manifestation of the Pleiades. Also turn towards more natural healing, that's and maybe to occultists, to wise women. A wise woman can enter your life and give you something. This eclipse is with Rahu. You receive something. Listen to the advice to wise older women, witches, astrologers like me. I look like a witch. Even we don't have heat still, so I can take a shower. And also listen to your own intuition, because the Pleiades is one of the most intuitive signs. It's gonna, if you have like a feeling at your gut of your stomach, and I would say the stomach, you feel it here, allow the diaphragm in the stomach, because it's a lunar eclipse, the moon rules the stomach, and so on. You'd feel it. This is the gut that I'm talking about, this feminine gut intuition. Listen to it, whether to do something or not to do something. If your belly feels relaxed and easy, it's right. If it tightens up, this is how you realize it, like a body reaction. Or some others, everyone has different type of intuition. And this is for the world and personally as well for you. I just want to also mention, for example, if the eclipse is happening on your sun. So if you're born around 16, 17, 18, 19, 20th, 21st of May, this is your sun there. So they can be the completion of some important career projects or goal, or something that you've been working on, you manifested, something important happens there. It's also a big change in your career, or connected with your goals, or also some completion in a relationship with an important man in your life, like a boss living your life, a husband, a father, or in these extreme cases, some crisis situation you have to resolve with men figures in your life. But plus, it can indicate that male figures in your life, like father, husband, another important male in your life, can complete something important in his life, take it to the next level, see the results of his actions, and is very strongly emphasized. If it's your moon at those degrees, 26, 27, 28, I'd say even 20, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 to the 30th degree in Taurus, or 30th degree of 26 to the 30th degree in Scorpio. And by the way, you can find out if the eclipse activates any planet in your horoscope by going to my birth chart calculator. I'll share it with you to see, and it will show you actually, astrolabe, it will show you if the eclipse triggers something within 1 degree of your chart. Great. My internet doesn't reach that far. I'm so sorry. You go to astrolabe.com, and is this video even recording if I don't have internet? Oh, whatever. Go to astrolabe.com and go to the personal transit calendar. And the personal transit calendar, enter your birth details. You have to put your email there to use it, but it will give you for free a transit for the next 7 days. So 7 days before the eclipse on the 19th. So from the 13th already, check your transit calendar and you will see if there is an eclipse. You go and see that the eclipse is indicated by a sun and moon, and you'll see the legend underneath, and you'll see if the eclipse is conjunct anything in your horoscope. So if it's your moon from Scorpio 25 to 30 degrees, or Taurus 25 to 30 degrees, something very important will happen in your personal life. Something pivotal, fated. Eclipses are about fate. For example, the eclipse is happening also in it's affecting my moon, and we're completing our house. So that would be, because full moon is to complete something. We're completing, and it's a big change. So for some of you who your moon is those degrees, Taurus, Scorpio, or you have your 4th house there in Taurus or Scorpio, those degrees especially, you'd, like I do, there will be some big change in your home, big news about family members, parents, in some situations might be crisis with parents or in the life of parents. We might be buying a house or selling a house, adding a new member or member leaving life. Because it's with Rahu, this eclipse, I hope it gives you something, because Rahu tends to give something material, like we're completing our house exactly around the eclipse time. And then a few weeks, we fully moved in, we'll have doors, not like now. Look at that. Sorry. um, and uh, there might be a crisis with a certain woman in your life, a more older woman or wife, or completion of something in their life. They reach some stage in their life, or where they complete something important for them, or completion of some emotional connection with another person that reaches its end and it's removed from your life, or that goes to the next level. All right, so if it's your Venus in those degrees that's being affected by the eclipse, so I'd say from 25 to 30 degrees in Taurus or in Scorpio, you can even add the other two fixed signs, Aquarius and Leo. But they're squaring. I have never seen the squares to make really big changes when it happens with the eclipse. It really has to be exactly where the eclipse is happening or opposite. But if it's squaring it, there might be some crisis that happens then. Venus indicates your love life. So it might be some culmination in your love life. It might be some culminations with or taking the relationships to the next level. So it can indicate a marriage over the next 100 days. It can indicate some very important karmic, almost fated relationships that's happening, and some very important development in it. But in some situations can indicate the ending, because it's a full moon, something that gives its full fruits. And if it's really beautiful fruits, you take it even deeper level. It becomes almost like an occult merging, healing relationship. But if it's not, it ends. Venus is also the taste that you have. There might be a big shift in your taste if your Venus is those degrees Scorpio, Taurus. It might be preceded by some crisis, for example, and you have to stop eating certain foods and you change your palate, you change sugar or whatever, or it even change in appearance. Venus can be connected to that. Also change in financial situation, but also, especially if you've been working on something, this eclipse can reward you financially to see the results of what you've been working on if your Venus is there. Crisis of values is also possible. It's one of the other manifestations. So a crisis with your feminine energy and your sensuality, and uh, you having to change something, to transform something in regards to that, having to take it to another level, or even to eliminate something in the way how you express your femininity, your sensuality in your relationships, how you express yourself as a woman. If your Mars is being activated 25 to 30 degrees in Taurus or Scorpio, or let's say the other fixed signs, Aquarius and Leo, then you're going to have some very important development. Some activity might come to a completion. Mars rules activity, something that you initiated, you might see the results of it. And it can indicate that over the next 100 days, you'll be working very hard to finally, complete it, put the final touches, but you can also start seeing the results already at the time of the eclipse. But there might be a crisis of some sort connected with males in your life, lovers or siblings, or Mars is usually younger men as well, that you have to solve, that some stressful situation to be resolved there, or some fated development with such a personal completion with some such younger person or male person. Mars also, you have to be careful for accidents, especially 3 days before the eclipse on the 19th, 3 days after, because sometimes Mars is already a difficult planet. Being eclipsed by the moon, you might be a bit more sensitive for something. So if possible, don't travel or use some dangerous tools like my neighbors there have been using and been annoying the heck out of me. Sorry, I have to calm down. Don't get out of, don't turn into a witch yet. Stay present. Oh, there are a few more days before I turn into a witch. Okay, and I forgot to say about the moon, your intuition will be through the roofs with that. Yes, there might be some crisis in the family, but your intuition might save the situation. And with Mars, yeah, we said that. Okay, Then if it's your Jupiter being activated by full moon eclipse, let me give you a story. When Jupiter, and that means you have your Jupiter in Taurus, 25 to 30 degrees, or Jupiter in Scorpio, 25 to 30 degrees, to a lesser degree, Leo or Aquarius. When there was an eclipse, right, and that was a full moon eclipse with Rahu, exactly, right on my moon on the next day, not right on my Jupiter. Jupiter in women's horoscope signifies the marriage partner. So I'm holding myself here, but it's helping me stay calm. And sorry for looking a mess again. I'm not in the best mental, physical state. So when it happened, on the next day, I met my husband. So fated events, and it was a crisis because I was also in the middle of divorce. So it kind of was bringing up a divorce with a previous husband, with a current husband who became previous, and the meeting of a new life partner. So usually eclipses bring something fated that can shake you, but it can be great long term as well. So some fated events with your husband, with important, or with the teachers. For some of you, it can bring a teacher into your life, your teacher, your guru, not necessarily like some Indian guru. That's what people imagine. It might be teacher of astrology, new inspirational figure, or you might learn something really powerful occult wisdom, because this eclipse is about wisdom, and some knowledge about, from a teacher or from source of inspiration, which is also Jupiter. There might be crisis of faith for some of you. Jupiter is faith. And crisis of the goals for the future. Jupiter rules that, what inspires you, but which will change over the next 100 days. Dramatically, they'll change. Some of you might change faith, some of you might change their inspirations, their what they want to study and learn. And they'll question their reality, their belief system, and they'll transform it. But at the same time, and they'll make their belief system more spiritual, because Pleiades is a very spiritual star. They might have some very occult spiritual experiences as well. Or they can have some very important development connected to high education, completion of some project about teaching and seeing the results of it, completion of a project connected to learning or teaching, or to being in foreign countries, or to higher education, all of those things. All right, if it happens on your Saturn, full moon eclipse on your Saturn, your structures, the structures of your life over the next 100 days the security that you build might come to a completion, and they might disintegrate, and you have, through this crisis situation, to find a new foundation, new security in your life, to rebuild. And don't forget that this Pleiades eclipse has the energy of death and rebirth to it, but also the energy of occult knowledge, so intuition as well. So through intuition will give you the indication where exactly to how to rebuild your life, how to rebuild those foundations of security in your life, the structures in your life. Or on a more positive note, an eclipse can give, if you've been working hard on some project, the Saturn is hard work, especially if a project that is more material, with material manifestations, with more structured business, something, organization, you can finally complete it and see the results of it. But Saturn is also older people. For some of you, it can indicate the completion of a relationship with an older person exiting your life, grandparent or whatever. Or it can indicate that some important development, fated development, coming from a wise old person, that it plays some important role in your life during this period. So that's about it, because we don't cover Uranus, Neptune, Rahu, Ketu. They're universal. Everyone who has Uranus, so everyone who has Neptune in Scorpio or Taurus, those degrees, they're like people that 5 years, whole generation. So it's, but let's say generations of people who have Uranus in the last 5 degrees of Scorpio, like that's my generation. They can play some important awakening role, and but also Uranus is their freedoms. They can feel like their freedoms are being threatened, and they can play some healing role in that direction. People who have their Neptune in Scorpio or Taurus, those last 5 degrees, they can play some important spiritual There can be some loss because Neptune is loss, but they can collectively for that generation. So I don't think there is a point in speaking collectively about that because we don't know where this planets go in your personal horoscope. So that's about it. If you want to know for your personal sign, check out my 2021 November video horoscopes. And I hope I'm calm enough and healthy enough. And I think I am. I'm telling you, I'm just waiting for the broom to arrive, and I think my transformation and healing will be over. Now, so I'll do the horoscopes and scary predictions and healing. So there you go. That again, check out my 2022 video horoscopes, 2 hours and a half for each sign. Um, People really love them, and this is my best work every year. I do it with so much love. I did it while I was calm and healthy still, so I'm, uh, I'm not gonna scare you there. Hopefully, well, I had COVID then, so it's been lovely year. What can I say? Anyway, thank you so much. I love you. Thank you for listening to me.